This is WCN, the Whole Care Network. You talk, we listen. Content presented on the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed during this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent views of the Whole Care Network. Always consult your physician for medical and fitness advice, and always consult your attorney for legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Have you ever met anybody that has caregiving on their bucket list of things to do in life?
Beyond caregiving, how do we care?
We also have to care for ourselves.
How do we treat friends, family, strangers we meet?
Forget it.
How do we heal? The physical, social, financial, spiritual.
Hello.
By creating healing ties. Tying it all together like a bow tie. With your host, Christopher McClellan, the bow tie guy.
Well, greetings everyone. It is Christopher McClellan, the bow tie guy, for our Capstone episode of our 30 and 30 podcast as we celebrated National Family Caregivers Month all through the month of November. It has been quite a ride, and I would not have been able to do 30 podcasts in 30 days, especially, obviously with our guest, but without our executive producer and voice of the Whole Care Network, Bill Odman, who's going to join us today on the Capstone episode. Bill, welcome to Healing Ties.
Well, good morning, Christopher. How are you?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It snowed overnight.
In the posh downtown studios of
It did.
Oddvox production, you had snow.
Outside it's clear, but inside we have a dusting of snow.
Well,
all over everything.
We have a dusting of sun rays here in Southeast Florida. So,
no, I woke up and I looked out the window and it's like, oh, those are snowflakes. So this is our first.
I love snow. I just do. I do
too, actually.
But I love it when I watch it on TV.
Yeah. So we got a dusting, right? So if I were to go to any of our grocery stores in St. Louis in an hour or two, I'm certain that there will be absolutely no bread, milk, or eggs, anywhere to be found in the grocery store.
That's a St. Louis trait. That's a St. Louis trait.
They saw a flake, man. Nothing will be left on the shelves.
Oh, I could run with that word flake here.
There might be toilet paper on the shelves instead. Who knows? That's been missing recently again too. So
we had that happen here in South Florida.
Oh my God. I'm just like, people really, that's a whole different topic.
It is a whole, that might be a topic for our shows when we go in January, but I don't want to jump ahead too far, but
let's just stay in today. Okay.
Let's just stay in today.
Today's enough.
But it's amazing. Here we are on November 30th, 2020. And we have, we've gone through 30 podcasts in 30 days. And who was the first guest on November 1st? What was that person's name?
I don't.
Oh, I think
some
it was
freak.
You. I think
from
it was
St.
you.
Louis. Yeah,
I think
it was me.
You. And
thinking in the back of my head as we were talking, okay, how are we going to pull this one off? How are we going to pull this rabbit? How are we going to pull 30 rabbits out of a hat, in 30 days? How are we going to do that? But we did.
And we did, and we couldn't, the analogies with caregiving is so prevalent, as my listeners know. I took a long sabbatical from podcasting and radio. I did other people's shows and did in-person presentations when you could do those, but I kind of backed away from podcasting and radio because of the technology. And then we reconnected, and you're kind of a master at this, and it's a perfect combination.
Well, I'm glad I have you convinced of that.
Well, that's all you need. That's all you need.
True. That's right. Well, and I truly am the man behind the curtain.
You are the man behind the curtain, and not to, I'll just kind of let the curtain out of the bag here. The people will get a chance to see that posh studio in January. They will, as we do some live shows, both on our radio network and on our YouTube channel. So that's right. That's one of the teasers that we're going to be talking about today. Yep. But before we get into that, Bill, let's just kind of recap. We had just a bunch of wonderful guests. I mean, every guest brought their unique gifts.
They did
to Healing Ties, and we learned a lot of great fun facts about people. Some that were kind of surprising, and some that were very revealing. But all in all, one of the reasons we did those fun facts was to demonstrate to our listeners that there is a serious side of caregiving, they're caring, and then we have that personal side too. We don't want to lose track of that, which often happens while you're in the midst of caregiving. You lose your hobbies, you lose sight of what's good for you. But I don't know. There's so many interesting hobbies that people do.
We had two guests on who like do circus stuff, right? One does trapeze, and the other one, it was the same kind of like acrobatics and things like that.
Circus. I kind of related it to like Circus Olay.
Cirque du Soleil, yeah.
Cirque du Soleil, yeah.
Cirque du Soleil, and I'm like, wow, okay.
And then we had a nice lady who was putting together old cars.
Yeah, yes, that's right. We did. Just it ran the gamut, all kinds of stuff.
And I, one of the more amazing things is I met somebody that doesn't like peanut butter
or chocolate.
It's like
one in the same person.
I drew the line when I said, now, if you don't like French fries, then there's real problems.
That's right. I remember that.
But as we wrap up our 30 and 30, we've had some great guests that's helped us along, and it just kind of reaffirms the message that we're going to be delivering here on the Whole Care Network. One of the things we've been promoting, I use that word lightly, is the soft launch of our new Whole Care Network website. That is scheduled to go live on Tuesday. So I encourage Tuesday, which would be December 1st, encourage all of our listeners to go out and visit the site. But fair warning, the site is not, while it's going to be up and running, we've still got a lot of work to do on the site. And that's why we've been asking our folks and our listeners to take a look around the site. Let us know what you think, and use the search button and search our 4 pillars of care: our physical, social, financial, and spiritual care. Search our content that's going to be posting throughout the month of December and beyond. We've got a little content up right now, but everything's going to be added as we move along in December, and with our great list of podcasters that are coming on to the network, some of our old favorites like Elizabeth Miller from Happy Healthy Caregiver, and Matt Gerwell from Beyond Driving with Dignity. We've got Matt Estrade with The Peace Beyond Dementia. So we've got probably, I think, 5 or 6 new podcasters coming on. We've got some partners that we'll be discussing here over the next 6-8 weeks as we move into the new site, where we want to be the go-to person that you come for trusted resources. So take a look at the site, give us your feedback, and keep supporting the Whole Care Network.
That's right. It's a new day at the Whole Care Network.
It's a new day in the Whole Care Network. So where do we go from here? Bill, you asked this real important question in our entry, and I'm going to ask you to play that right now.
Okay.
Beyond caregiving, how do we care for ourselves? How do we treat friends, family, strangers we meet? How do we heal the physical, social, financial, spiritual?
As we move into season 9 of Healing Ties, I will always be talking about caregiving in one form or another on Healing Ties. But we're going to take the questions and the issues a step further. We want to know, how do you care beyond caregiving? How do you care for yourself? How do you care for your friends? How do you protect those 4 pillars of care that are so prevalent on the Whole Care Network? We're looking for folks who have created healing ties by their words, actions, and deeds. And we're inviting you to be a guest. It's approaching 7 years since Richard made his life transition. And I talked very openly about my struggles with losing him and the impact that had and the poor decisions I made along the way. And one thing that I recognized here recently, within the last year and a half, is that I had really been devoid of a goal. My life had been more about survival, getting to the next day, rather than looking beyond that next day. And oftentimes I didn't live in the day. I lived in the day before. And there was a change in me about a year and a half ago. It was on a transatlantic cruise to Spain. And that was one of my life-changing experiences where I recognized that I had been devoid of a goal. And all these things that I've been wanting to do with the Whole Care Network, with the Healing Ties, with YouTube, it's kind of like my motto is, if you can dream it, you can do it. Well,
right.
I can dream it, I can do it, and I have a goal in mind that is directing me for the first time in a number of years. And everybody's caregiving journey is different, especially life after caregiving, which is very rarely talked about in the caregiving circles. But that's kind of where we're going with Healing Ties 2.0. We're going to be talking about life after caregiving, centered around our 4 pillars and how you're creating healing ties by your words, actions, and deeds.
I've touched on this in the last episode that we did together when we launched the 30 and 30. I'm in recovery. I've been sober for 7.5 years. What I can say about what you're going through and what we're talking about here in Moving Healing Ties kind of to another level, and our discussion about caregiving to another level is similar to what happens in recovery. Okay.
Yes.
It's very similar to what happens in recovery, because what I learned in recovery is that it's not about alcohol. Okay. It's not about that. What it's about are all those things that sit underneath that. And that's true in any addiction.
Right.
So I can be sober. I can not have touched a drop of alcohol in 7.5 years. But that doesn't really mean a whole lot if I am feeling depressed, if I am treating people horribly, because all of the behaviors that were present when I was drinking are still there. They don't go away, right? They don't go away when the alcohol goes away. So what we spend our time in recovery doing, and by doing the work of recovery, is how do we take care of ourselves? How do we heal?
How do we heal?
How do I heal from 30 years of drinking? And how does that manifest itself in the way that I relate to others and in my relationships, in the ways that I treat other people, strangers on the street, in the ways that I react to things, all that stuff, and I think that it's so important. And you said it, we don't talk about life after caregiving. Well, you know what?
We're going to.
We probably should. Yeah,
probably
right.
Should. We're going to.
Because how has that thing that has consumed us, whether it's alcohol, whether it's caregiving, whatever it is, how are we treating ourselves and how are we treating others? I really think that's what it's about.
I think it's a perfect time to have this conversation, considering what everything has gone on in 2020.
Oh my God.
How do we heal? Because we not only, the entire society is looking to heal. Doesn't matter what culture,
it is.
what orientation, where you live. The pandemic has changed everybody's lives.
Yeah, and not just in the United States,
not
right?
just in the United States, and
but
caregiving
all over the world.
And caregiving is just not an issue in the United States; it's a universal issue. It might be.
It is.
It might be cultural differences, but still, that question comes from how do you heal? So, I guess to kind of recap here and bring this in full circle. On our new season of Healing Ties, which commencing on Sunday, January 10th. And there's going to be a couple of different ways that you'll be able to both see and hear our new show. We'll be streaming live on YouTube, and we will also be simulcasting. How do you like that word, Bill? I'm not even a tech person.
I am so excited by that word.
Yeah. And we'll also be simulcasting on our new 24/7 streaming service. That'll debut in January as well. Bill's going to have a lot of work to do starting in January.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll still be producing the podcasts and putting those out to all those platforms, Apple, Google, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But they'll have the YouTube version too. And it's not going to be this fake video thing. This is actually going to be a video. And
that should be a video, interactive.
And the live shows will be live, right?
We'll have call-in opportunities for people to call in.
Call in
and
chat and all that.
But, Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot. Before we close out our capstone, I'm going to ask you to ask me about a fun fact about me.
Thank you. I'm really glad I get to do that because yeah, so let me set this up here, okay? Set this up.
Okay.
So, Chris, something we do here at the Whole Care Network and on Healing Ties is we want to know if you're fun. Are you fun?
Well, I've been accused of being a stoic throughout my 63 and a half years.
Do you maybe over that granite veneer that you wear? It's all granite and old granite. Old granite. Hard to chip away, right?
It is.
Underneath all of that, do you have a fun fact that you can share with me and with our listeners? Preferably something I don't know. I know a lot.
You know a lot. Well, you know a lot. The one fun fact, I think you do know this because I think you were one of the first persons I shared it with, is in 2020, I was elected to the St. Louis Bowling Congress Hall of Fame.
That's right. You were. I did know that.
Yeah.
I did know that, but we haven't mentioned it on here, so I doubt our guest note.
I doubt our guest.
It happened right before we started, yeah?
Yeah, in a past life. We've had a number of lives here. I bowled professionally. I bowled on the Pro Bowlers Tour. And actually, I had 2 segments on the Pro Bowlers Tour.
Right, you did.
And my last professional tournament was in April of 1987.
Wow.
I kind of relate I get to talk about my bowling career. I kind of relate my bowling career to that of a baseball player.
Right.
But that player that does really well at the AAA level.
Right.
And then for whatever reason, just can't make it in the major leagues.
Yeah.
I still talk with many of these fellows.
I know you do. I know you do. You still keep in touch with
But that's kind of how, in fact, we're going to, in our new shows, more teasers, we're gonna invite a number of the PBA Hall of Famers for a Healing Ties show.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think
it's going to be fun.
Great.
But that's kind of
have to be a long show because we'll have to get them time to tell stories.
They'll all want to talk. So
yes, I'm sure they will.
I'm very proud of that.
So it's 33 years since you professionally bowled.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I just did that math in my head. You proud of me?
Well, that's because you're a professional.
I'm a professional.
That's right.
33 years, and we've been bowling together.
Yes, we did. That was a fun
If you
evening.
could call it that.
It was.
If you can call. Oh man,
there was 5 of us that night.
Yeah, we've golfed together too. If you could call it that.
Yeah. Well,
I think I just demonstrated.
I always told my mom, "Why didn't you drop me off at the golf course instead of the bowling alley?"
Right.
But I do look back on that time in my life and all the folks that I met through bowling, and it was I have to say, when the phone call came in, it was pretty exciting to be acknowledged for something that had been long past, and then to reconnect with so many folks in and around the St. Louis area who I've been friends with since teenagers. So,
well, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you, and I was so happy to hear that. That literally happened. What was that? That was in October, I think, was when I found out about that.
Yeah, it's just been recently. It's
just right before we began.
Yeah,
the 30 and 30.
The 30 and 30, because there would have been a big a banquet in St. Louis, which has been postponed to 2021.
Right.
So what's even more interesting about that is, since I haven't been back to St. Louis in probably 2 or 3 years now, and that's probably been the longest time away from home for a number of years. But it's okay. Bill, you have any final thoughts before we?
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking about some things we didn't mention about the 30 and 30. So if you folks haven't had a chance to listen to the episodes in the 30 and 30, I really think they're worth a listen. We have, we've covered a whole bunch of different topics. We covered stories. We had folks on who were caregivers who told their stories. We talked about Alzheimer's. We talked about Lou Gehrig's disease. We even talked some tech. Some technologies that are available out there that are making lives easier for seniors. So there's a whole cornucopia of stuff to keep you all occupied through the month of December.
Right. And there'll be
over 15 hours
over 15
content.
Hours, and there'll be individual blog posts coming out in December of all of our 30 and 30. And on the new Whole Care Network website, there will be a landing page. It'd be wholecarenetwork.com/healingties/30 and 30, where all the podcasts will be embedded into the page, and you'll be able to read a little bit of a recap on the show notes, and you can listen to all the episodes right on the Whole Care Network or any of your favorite podcast platforms.
I'm just going to do one other plug here. I want to thank all of the guests. Everybody was there. They were available. We were on time. We did our recordings. Delightful sessions we had with everybody. I just want to thank them for their time in helping us accomplish, what in the podcasting world is a pretty big thing to do what we've done in 30 days. You don't find many daily podcasts out there. And this was a chunk, and we did them all to celebrate Family Caregivers Month. And I think that's a huge accomplishment, Chris, on your part. And I think it speaks to your passion and your dedication to this whole thing.
I'm in it for the rest of my life, and I do it in memory of Richard. And I know how important it is for those who are coming after us as caregivers.
Right.
Yeah, why it's important for them to have as much information as they need.
And I'm going to do to you what you do to all the guests. So we did the fun fact, which I got to do to you.
Yes.
But I'm going to say to you, if I can remember how this goes,
by the stories you tell and by the things that you do in your daily life and have been doing and will continue to do, you are certainly someone, Chris McClellan, who brings healing ties, who creates healing ties all around us. And I can't tell you how happy I am that you and I are doing this together. And with all those folks who are going to be joining us and talking to us.
I will say ditto and thank you for acknowledging that we're creating healing ties together. So, which brings me to
really messed up that closing, didn't I? You weren't expecting that.
You did.
Nope.
So you got my bearded mustache all twisted,
all
around.
tangled up.
But
right. You have a brush for that.
Yeah, I do.
Brush that
but
out.
I do want to, I want to thank all of our participants in our 30 and 30 podcast series. And I want to thank you, our listeners, for your feedback. And the downloads have been amazing. It's been fun to get back in the saddle and behind the mic. And we look forward to doing more Healing Ties 2.0 in January of 2021. As you know, I'm your host, Christopher McClellan. You might know me as the Bowtie Guy. I've created a life to love after caregiving ends by being with awesome people like all of our 28 guests and all of our great listeners on the Whole Care Network. We'll see you in January. Happy holidays. Bye for now.
Ciao.
This is WCN, the Whole Care Network. You talk, we listen.